in the United States. I'm your host, John Parker, joined by my executive producer, Jim Pounds.
Hey, all.
In studio. We've got a good show to you today. Lots of quality, high quality journalism coming your way. In the second half hour of the show, Jake Wittig, managing editor of Windy City Times, is going to join us to discuss his new reporting on ICE's escalating actions in Chicago, which included arresting one of the city's gay alder people. But up first, since 1969, the Washington Blade has been the nation's independent source for fearless reporting and inclusive, incisive cultural commentary covering the LGBTQ plus community. Readers around the world rely on the Blade, earning the paper the moniker the newspaper of record for the LGBTQ plus community. You can find their award-winning journalism in their weekly newspaper, distributed at more than 100 locations throughout the DC region and online at washingtonblade.com. Check out their paid membership opportunities as well that make LGBTQ journalism possible at a time when clear, concise news is needed now more than ever. Joe Reberkenny is the White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. He's a graduate of American University, where he studied broadcast journalism and political science with a focus on gender, race, and politics. He covers LGBTQ issues and political news with a particular passion for exploring queer history in the nation's capital, making his first appearance on The Gailey Show. Hello, Joe. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. It's lovely to join you guys. I'm so excited to be here.
All right. So we are into week one now, officially, of the federal government shutdown. You were reporting last week, and I didn't know this, that somehow the Trump administration said it was partially the fault of transgender people that we have a shutdown.
Yeah. In the first meeting, when Trump was discussing the potential for a shutdown, he started to blame Democrats, as he tends to do, but also said that it was their fault for, quote, wanting transgender for everybody. And I've referenced the healthcare aspects of this government shutdown. But yeah, blamed them.
Should we even try to understand what he means by transgender for everybody?
I don't totally understand what he meant by that. But yeah.
Okay. So 1 week in, are you hearing anything or reading anything since you're in DC about whether or not we are close to coming back and having the government reopen?
It still feels like a standstill. Democrats are pretty hardline on their wanting to include this additional funding for healthcare, which is where the whole argument, at least that's what the Democrats are arguing. And Republicans point blank said they don't want it. It was cut out of funding during the big beautiful bill that Trump passed and the Republicans in the Senate passed and the House. But these Medicaid and health credits would provide, were supposed to provide over 20 million American with help for covering healthcare premiums and deductible rates. But the Republicans don't want to include it in their allocation in order for the government to keep going.
Does this also include premiums for folks who have insurance on the Affordable Care Act?
It does. It's specifically that is a large group of these 20 million Americans that would face possible, funding for their healthcare to be taken away.
And that would go, if they don't get it through, that would go into effect Jan 1, right?
Yeah, it would. So they still have the rest of the year, but it would make next year a little bit more difficult to find coverage and to find affordable healthcare in the country.
In your reporting and when you were at the White House, did they say why they were against, why is the Trump administration and the GOP against the subsidies?
Yeah, they kept arguing that this would give undocumented immigrants healthcare and it would cover for people who are not paying taxes, and they were inflating this as, we are giving free money and free healthcare to immigrants in the country. And while there are some specific instances in the health credit cuts and Medicaid that will allow long-term residents who do pay taxes to get healthcare assistance, it's not just giving free blank checks to people to get healthcare.
Right. Well, I imagine there's a huge part of their base that is also receiving these subsidies. I'm just remembering reporting that I saw after the election last year where a number of his voters were like, wait a minute, I thought we were just getting rid of Obamacare, not the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, those two are the same thing, and a lot of people don't understand that.
No, they don't. Well, we will stay tuned to your reporting on any updates that happen with the shutdown, and hopefully, eventually, the funding or continued funding of these subsidies. Another big story that you've been covering is the Supreme Court, which reconvened this week. Folks know yesterday I took a pretty deep dive into Charles v. Salazar, where the court is apparently going to allow therapists to begin practicing or malpracticing on their queer patients, again, conversion therapy. But there are also a number of other cases of dire import for the LGBTQ community in front of the court this term. Should we, and you have a great outline of all of them, should we sort of take them one by one here?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
All right, so the first one is West Virginia versus PBJ.
Yeah, so this one is about a trans girl challenging of West Virginia state on banning trans girls' participation in sports. She has been actively identifying as trans and has been taking medications, various things to ensure that she is living the life that she wants to be living, and has taken puberty blockers. That's a big thing in this, is that she never reached male puberty, which is what some of the other arguments that other people are making, is that, trans people have already had these hormones in them. But in this instance, in West Virginia, this girl has has been taking these medications and is trying to fight for the right to be able to participate in school sports.
Okay. Do we know when that case will be argued?
I don't have it currently right here, but it's supposed to be getting up this term. And this past week, I've been mostly focusing on Childs versus Salazar, as you have as well. But there's another one coming up similar to West Virginia, but this time about Idaho's version of the trans sports panic law.
So that's little versus Heckox,
yes.
Heckox.
And except this one involves a trans woman who's playing at a collegiate level. They've argued that because she had gone through male puberty, she was not. She had an advantage, a chemical advantage, I would say. That's what they're arguing over the women born female. But it really is. Our focus is on the equal protection argument and Title IX specifically. Those are the big arguments, and if those extend to transgender people, despite Bostock, which has said that sexual identity and gender identity is protected by Title IX. So there might be some reversal of some decisions there.
And Bostock versus Clayton County. We all have to suddenly be lawyers.
Yeah.
In this new administration, Bostock v. Clayton County was a major decision a few years ago from the Supreme Court. All of them, I believe, with the exception of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, right? I believe were on the court when they made this decision.
That sounds right.
Which, as Joe, you just said, found that sexual orientation and gender identity are covered under Title IX. Do folks have a sense yet? Like, in your reporting, are you seeing any sense of how the court is going to go? I mean, on the outside, I would say, okay, anything LGBTQ, they're going to go against. But here, in this particular case, they would literally be overturning their precedent from a few years ago.
Yeah, well, this Supreme Court doesn't really seem to care about precedent. Specifically, Clarence Thomas has said recently in public statements to media that he doesn't really care for stare decisis or the respecting of precedents from past cases, and has been pretty outspoken about being more Christianly devoted than constitutionally devoted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I've been trying. I mean, it is my editorial opinion on this show that we live in a Christian nationalist country, and you just don't. Folks aren't ready to accept that yet. But we certainly, when you see someone like this, a justice on the Supreme Court saying that he's going to follow the Bible over Constitution, that tells you everything that you need to know.
Whoever gives him a trip, I guess he might that might influence him also.
Yeah, there's some great Publica reporting on the gifts that he seems to be taking
right.
in advance of cases that he has to be rendering decisions on. Joe, give us the bigger picture here on this term.
Yeah, so this term could reshape how equality itself is interpreted under the Constitution. That's how I've been looking at it. That's how a lot of the legal experts I've been talking to, from the ACLU to HRC, has been seeing it. This is the red alert that we have been, fearing, is that our rights as queer people and as people who have in the past not necessarily been considered equal under the law, but have been, following various and long fights towards getting that, could be repealed, and equality itself is kind of up for debate.
And that would be not just at the federal level, but some of these cases could also overturn blue state protections.
Yes. Specifically, I know yesterday you talked about Childs versus Salazar, and I don't want to get into it too much again, but that is a ban of conversion therapy, which extends to, I believe it's 27 states.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them blue, some of them red, but it would reverse things that, people have elected these officials to push forward. So it's kind of, it seems to be going against what some people have specifically voted for. In some instances,
well, an actual medical research.
Yeah, right. That as well.
Let's
humanity and all that.
Let's have people start malpracticing again, and okay. All right. Well, I mean, this is an excellent article breaking down all of these cases, so I highly recommend to folks. And what I really appreciate your reporting, Joe, is that you don't have to be a lawyer to read it, about the Supreme Court. You do a very good job of breaking down the individual cases and everyday non-lawyer language. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, of course. I am not a lawyer. I never went to school for law, although I did take a few classes at American about constitutional law. But all of those rules seem to be kind of flipping now and being debated in the court as well. So, yeah, I am not a lawyer.
I have to take a quick break here. You're listening to The Gailey Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Gailey Show. I am John Parker. We are coming up on the bottom of the hour in studio with my executive producer, Jim Pounds. Joe Reberkenny is the White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. He is here with us sharing his excellent reporting from D.C. Joe, this is a story that I didn't know about that was alarming to me, which is about how the FBI is planning to label trans people as, quote, violent extremists, end quote.
Yeah, there was a draft proposal from the FBI and Heritage Foundation, linked advisors, that specifically would classify transgender ideology inspired violent extremists as domestic terrorists, which is interesting given this category that they are trying to classify them in was created under the Biden administration to specifically get January 6th insurrectionists, those domestic terrorists, to charge them with crimes. So it's definitely a 360 on what it was created for.
And okay, what is transgender ideology inspired violent extremism?
It seems it's not super clear. It is, which I believe may be part of the reason it's not super clear, is to be more broad. From the legal experts I talk to, it is really just a way to tack on, if somebody is transgender, to tack on additional charge when confronting them with a few things. People I've talked to have called it unconstitutional and specifically politically motivated and very dangerous to not only transgender people in general, but all people who are looking towards fighting for equality for the LGBTQ community.
And who was raising the alarm here? There's a number of organizations.
Yeah, multiple organizations. I talked to a bunch, specifically, pardon me, sorry, just pulling up. The Human Rights Campaign was a big one. I was a big call with a bunch of organizations that discussed this as soon as the report started going out. The Transgender Law Center also issued a warning on the same call. Equality Federation, GLAAD, and PFLAG, the Southern Poverty of Law Center. All of these organizations came together for this giant call to denounce this potential plan to label transgender people as extremists.
That's all the heavy hitters, which makes it all the more alarming. So, and this is not something that would be law. It would be a policy that they could. I guess where I'm going with that is I'm trying to figure out like who can sue to stop this.
Yeah, it seems to be mostly motivated by right-wing media's false claims, especially following the Charlie Kirk assassination. That's where a lot of this stems from. And since there hasn't been any official charging of anybody, and nobody has been found to be, at least that of my knowledge, that has been charged of this, who has been transgender, I'm not totally sure how it would go about through court. We'd have to just see how that would play out. Hopefully it doesn't, but the path is not clear. This would be something entirely new.
I mean, there would be the sense that this wouldn't just stop with trans folk, right? I mean, we're seeing this as are those organizations seeing this as a larger pathway for demonizing the entire LGBTQ community?
Yeah, there was a lot of sounding the alarm that, it could start at transgender people, and then very quickly this slope gets real slippery, and it could start taking over the entire LGBTQ community. It could be gay people next. It could be bisexual people. It could be anybody who doesn't identify as straight. They were sounding the alarm and saying, this, even if you don't care about transgender rights, which you should if you care about equality. But if you don't, this is still a reason to pay attention, because you could very well be the next targeted group.
Would this include just the act of violence per se, or would this also include like media organizations or nonprofits that are not promoting transgender ideology, but we're like obviously, providing gender affirming care, or on the show, talking about, transgender rights and LGBTQ rights? Like, are they seeing a broad, are those organizations saying that this could be even folks who are just pro LGBTQ?
Yeah, there was an emphasis on this being bigger than just targeting a person who might be transgender. It could grow, just as you were describing it, and could criminalize just queer existence and queer acceptance as a whole.
Yeah, there are so many scary stories here, but the one where you empower the FBI and DOJ to suddenly start making arrests onto something that it's so broad. I mean, transgender ideology inspired violent extremism. It just, Joe, is there do we know what the next steps are in this? Like it's proposed, it is an official policy. Like, will we even know that they've implemented it?
As of right now, no. If you go onto the FBI's website, they used to have statistics about transgender people, but this administration has been wiping a lot of things related to trans people, specifically in the trans community. So that has been taken out entirely. So there's no website or no kind of reference to see where this actual proposal would go. But yeah, we don't have, again, a clear path to seeing what could happen from it. But yeah, it's just all new territory.
And so I imagine then, in terms of the stats that they're erasing from DOJ, I mean, trans people are infinitely more likely to be the victim of a crime, correct?
Yes, it's very, very likely. And that was one of the things that Kelly Robinson from the HRC emphasized on this call, was that you are not likely to be attacked by a transgender person. A transgender person is much more likely to be attacked and to be victims themselves.
Right.
Yeah. Did you have a question, Tim?
No, I was going to make the comment that a lot of straight people are bisexual, so that's a very interesting slippery slope. I think if whether the bis who are hiding will come out and say you're crazy, or whether they'll slink away and and allow us
Ooh, I
to.
don't like that biphobia
Well,
that you're sharing.
But
there.
I'm
Ooh,
saying
no.
a bi
No,
person.
no.
I'm saying legitimately that a bi person has a decision to make, and I'm hoping people make the right one. But I think some people won't.
Well, this is why I appreciate your reporting, Joe, because you're giving us facts and stories that we don't know about that folks should be paying attention to here for how we can try to hold this administration accountable. Briefly, as we're coming up at the end of our time here, are there stories that you're working on that should be on the watch for?
Yeah, actually, last week I just published another one that I just want to quickly shout out. We did some investigating and found that the National Park Service had grants specifically allocated to 3 LGBTQ historical organizations in 20 states across the country. And those had been taken back after being initially announced prior to the Trump administration, and had since been given to other groups that are not focusing on LGBTQ history. I'm also currently working on a story about the New York
Joe,
City bar.
cut you off. I'm
Yeah,
so sorry. We're at our time. Folks, go to WashingtonBlade.com for all of that reporting and new reporting from Joe. We'll have a link in the show notes and on the website. We'll have Joe back here as well. You're listening to The Gailey Show.